idiot YouTuber snuck on North Sentinel Island. He got caught. So he got caught by them, or he got caught by the people who's like taking care of the island, like who's like warning people about the island. I don't know. Yeah, but like, yeah, that island, bro. Yeah, those people, they don't know about anything we know of, you know, whether it's about the technology, whether it's about like human emotion and all of that. Maybe they know about human emotion like we do, of course, because they're human, but like in a different way, you know, like.
North Sentinel Island is often considered the most dangerous place in the world. It's home to one of the most deadly uncontacted tribes on Earth, who have unalived several outsiders who dared to step foot on their island, burying them in shallow graves right on the beach for the world to see. Going there is almost certainly a death wish, but in the modern age, creators are willing to risk it all for clout, like Mikhailo Viktorovich Polyakov. Creators are willing to risk it all.
Respect to what I'm gonna say, okay? Respect to whoever I'm gonna say. If Jack Doherty went there, bro, and he passed away, I don't know if people gonna feel bad for him. Or this guy, like, bro, he called himself Somalian. Bro, I'm not a Somalian, bro, but nobody should call you Somalian, okay? You don't represent Somalian, okay? If I call myself Senegalese, I should represent what Senegal is, you know? Like YouTube
for clout,
like
Mikhailo Viktorovich Polyakov, who just recently attempted a trip to the deadly island. And although he somehow managed to come back unscathed, it's possible that he might have triggered a mini genocide on the island itself. Hi, I'm the Internet Anarchist. I make weekly YouTube documentaries, and today we'll be looking into the latest idiot who has attempted to visit North Sentinel Island for clout, the despicable acts he committed for content while he was there, and how he might even spend the next 5 years of his life in prison because of those acts. But you know what won't land you in prison? Subscribing to the channel. So hit that sub button and let's get on with the video. To fully understand just how dumb and insensitive this entire trip was, it's worth knowing who this man is and why he was so desperate to reach this uncontacted island. Mikhailo Viktorovich Polyakov is a 24-year-old YouTuber from North Goldwater, Arizona. He runs a YouTube channel named Neo-Orientalist, which he created fairly recently in September of 2024, almost a year later, and it's still fairly unknown, with only 4.6k subs, and only one major piece of content, a 6-part vlog series documenting the 3 weeks Mikhailo spent in one of the most dangerous places in the world, Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, along with several shorts highlighting the various moments from the same trip. Now, to his credit, he did put effort into properly exploring Afghanistan's culture from an—
Let's say you're doing content, right, and everything is slow, right? And then one day you decide like to say, oh, let me just do stupid things. But if you do that stupid thing, bro, and people will like you for that, and you're getting engagement, people, they just want you, they just want to see you like doing some goofy stuff and ruining your life. Like, bro, they're not gonna actually care about you. So, you know, when you're grinding in this platform, just be patient, bro. Everything's gonna come, bro. Okay?
Objective lens, regardless of his personal opinions on it. Even documenting important historical locations across the country and day-to-day life of the locals. It seemed like he was genuinely interested in showing his viewers a part of the world that doesn't get much coverage, even if it meant putting his life in danger. Fortunately for him, viewers noticed, with one thankful viewer writing, "I'm glad these videos actually show the real Afghanistan, unlike other videos where in 40 minutes, half is showing them walking to a hotel and inside the hotel, and the other half is eating in a restaurant and buying clothing." However, despite all of this, there were some questionable moments within the content he posted, especially his shorts, where his thrill-seeking side would take over. Take, for example, him posing with one of the Afghan militia's machine guns, shooting with the militia, and recording a road rage incident that turned violent. But regardless, his vlogs still did moderately well, generating around 20 to 30,000 views per video, especially considering that they were the first videos he ever posted. He had a real opportunity to keep putting out videos like this, exploring different cultures, and generating an audience that enjoyed his slightly more risky adventures from time to time. However, Mikhailo didn't want to build an audience over time. He wanted to go viral overnight. So he decided to take the biggest risk he could think of to reach this goal, and ended up choosing North Sentinel Island as his next destination, blatantly disregarding the law, the obvious threat to his own life, and the threat to the people on that island, all in search of internet clout.
Yo, chat, I'm afraid of like in this platform, right? I'm doing my thing, right? And then once I do a stupid thing and then people clip it and then people see it and then I go viral. I mean, of course, the viral is good, but at the same time, bro, I don't like people seeing me as like the clown, you know? Like, I don't want to grow like that. I want to grow like respectfully, you know? Not everyone in the world like people who scream too much, who rip their voice meaning they scream and until they cannot no longer speak in their next stream, you know.
For those who don't know, North Sentinel Island is
anyway.
approximately the size of Manhattan, New York, and is located about 750 miles off the coast of India. As a result, it's completely cut off from civilization. In fact, the only civilization that's even remotely close to it is Port Blair, the capital of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal. However, despite its isolation, there is a group of people that have been surviving on the island for centuries, without ever stepping foot on the mainland. A tribe known as the Sentinelese, rumored to be the direct descendants of the first humans to migrate out of Africa. The estimated 200 Sentinelese on the island have adopted a primitive lifestyle, hunting for animals and fish with spears, bow, and arrows, while wearing little to no clothing, leading many people to believe that they might be humanity's last remaining link to the Stone Age. However, their unique and detached existence has also made them a prime target over the years, from explorers, adventurers, and even governments trying to bring them back to civilization. The earliest incident of outsiders making contact with the Sentinelese occurred sometime in the 1880s, when the British—
How can a country cannot bring them back to civilization? Like, bro, like we have all the money, right? All the resources and all of that. How can you not bring the island into the civilization? I feel like that would work out, right? To bring all of them into a civilization. If we working people, okay, can bring dangerous animals into a zoo, then we can do this, okay?
British Navy led a survey mission to North Sentinel Island that quickly turned ugly. In their attempt to civilize the Sentinelese, the Navy ended up kidnapping 6 members of the tribe, an elderly couple and their 4 children, and took them to Port Blair, where tragedy awaited them. You see, because the Sentinelese have been living isolated from the rest of the world for thousands of years, they haven't developed immunity to any of our diseases. So when these 6 members of the tribe were eventually brought to the mainland, the elderly couple ended up falling sick and dying almost immediately. Fortunately, the children managed to survive, and were quickly sent back to the island along with several gifts as a gesture of peace. However, the damage was already done. The Sentinelese have consistently responded with arrows and aggression to anyone that has tried to enter their territory since that incident, no matter their intention. Like in 2004, when a Sentinelese man on the beach tried to shoot an Indian Coast Guard helicopter with a bow and arrow, even though it only came to check on the tribe's welfare after a tsunami had ravaged the surrounding area. Or in 2006, when a couple of fishermen accidentally drifted into the waters near North Sentinel Island while poaching a fish, and the Sentinelese ended up unaliving them and burying their bodies on the beach. There has only ever been one instance when the Sentinelese people didn't react aggressively to a group of visitors landing on their shores. This was on January 4th, 1991, when Trilokanath Pandit, the director of the Anthropological Survey of India at the time, decided to visit the island with his team. He had already been studying the island and its natives for several years, so when his boat started approaching, he knew exactly how to signal the tribesmen that he and his team were friendly.
To overcome limited communication and uncertain vocabulary. Coconuts do not grow on these islands, but they are valued by the Sentinelese.
In the end, they managed to befriend the tribesmen by copying their mannerisms and using their unique language to communicate with them.
Laha! 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 Dag!
So it went successfully, I guess.
However, this event didn't end up having any lasting impact on the relationship with the Sentinelese. So, in 2012, an amendment was made to the Andaman and Nicobar Island Protections of the Aboriginal Tribes Regulation of 1956, making it illegal to get within 3 miles of North Sentinel Island. But despite those restrictions being in place, there have still been some idiots who have tried visiting the the island, like John Allen Chow, a 26-year-old American Christian missionary who believed North Sentinel Island was Satan's last stronghold on Earth. So he made it his mission to bring people of North Sentinel Island towards Christianity. But as you might imagine, all of his attempts ended in complete disaster. He was forced to retreat twice.
Okay, you see, okay, I understand humanity, you know. I understand everybody trying to change people, right? But I'm not gonna lie, if you're trying to change a whole country and they're so evil, that is not your job, to be honest. Okay, that is God's job, okay? God owned those people, okay? God could do whatever, okay? But it's not you who's gonna change the whole... I mean, of course you can change the world. It doesn't matter, yes, you can change the world. But like in that civilization, bro, you don't know their language. You don't know how they operate, respectfully. You know, but like, yeah, God knows what they do, and you don't know what to do, and your knowledge is limited, so yeah.
Ice, and even had to swim a mile to safety after his second failed attempt. Despite all this, he tried to fulfill his mission a third time on November 16th, 2018, and ended up losing his life. In the days following his death, several news outlets picked up on his story, broadcasting the risks of trying to contact an uncontactable tribe and the danger it posed to both the people trying to visit the island and the local tribesmen. But of course, these warnings would land on deaf ears in Mikhailo's case, who, despite all the danger, chose North Sentinel Island as the next destination for his thrill-seeking vlogs, and eventually ended up paying the price for his decision. It all started in October 2024, when Mikhailo decided to take a trip from the United States to Port Blair, just like John Allen had. He got his hands on an inflatable kayak soon after landing on the island, and planned to use it to make a solo journey to the island. However, before his kayak could even hit the water, the staff of the hotel in which he was staying intervened, threatening to call the police if he left for the island, which probably ended up saving Mikhailo's life, since not only would the kayak have easily deflated if the Sentinelese decided to start showering it with arrows, the journey itself would have been extremely difficult, especially if the waves were even slightly rougher than normal. Fortunately, he listened to the staff at that moment and decided to fly back to the States almost immediately, but his obsession with going viral soon buried any fears he might have had about...
Yeah, Charlie, see, that obsession of going viral, use it for something else. Come on, going to this island, chat, that's crazy. You're gonna get killed, bro. You don't know them, you don't know their language, they don't know your language too.
What awaited him on the island. So he decided to try a second time in January 2025 and made the trip from the...
You know what would make sense? If someone knew their language, knew their way of like body language and all that, and went over there, it would make sense 100%, It would make sense.
US to Port Blair once again. However, this time he had a slightly different plan. Instead of an inflatable kayak, he brought an inflatable motorboat with him. The only problem was this motorboat was missing a key component, the motor. So Mikhailo started reaching out to local mechanics and engineers in Port Blair, asking them to help attach a motor to his boat, and he found someone who could do it almost immediately. However, Mikhailo wasn't one to sit around and wait, so he decided to visit yet another indigenous tribe while the motor was being constructed. He hitched a ride to the Baratang Islands, located approximately 90 miles north of Port Blair, and successfully made contact with the native Jarara tribe. But here's the kicker. He ended up recording his interactions with the tribe, which, as it turns out, is also illegal under Indian law. He eventually returned back to Port Blair on March 26, 2025, and by this time, the motor for his boat was ready and attached. After spending a few days studying routes and monitoring tides, Mikhailo finally left for North Sentinel Island at approximately 1 a.m. on March 29. And surprisingly, the journey itself went smoothly. Not only did he have to contend with less Coast Guard patrols, since he'd left from the nearby Kumadera beach, and not the more heavily patrolled beach in Port Blair, the waters were also incredibly calm throughout the trip. In fact, he managed to arrive in North Sentinel Island's vicinity around 10 a.m. which is way earlier than he'd imagined. However, upon his arrival, he would be greeted with absolute silence, since there were absolutely no Sentinelese on the beach awaiting his arrival like he'd imagined, which in reality was incredibly lucky because if they were present, it's more than likely they'd have started firing arrows at him by this point. Still, as he continued inching closer, he started getting more frustrated, resulting in him doing the most brain-dead thing ever, and using a whistle to alert the Sentinelese to his presence. He whistled for over an hour, but luckily received no response from the Sentinelese, all while slowly approaching the beach. And when he finally arrived, he found the beach and the nearby forest just as deserted as it looked from his boat. So he spent the next hour recording the deserted beach and collecting sand samples to take back with him before engaging in his most despicable act yet, leaving a half-empty can of Diet Coke and a coconut on the beach as an offering to the tribe, knowing full well that the drink he'd already drank from probably contains pathogens that could possibly wipe out the entire tribe if even one member decided to drink it. As a commenter rightly states,
crazy.
this guy is a dummy, putting an entire civilization/heritage at risk for a couple of years. Your values are truly mind.
Yeah, bro, like, yo, I don't understand y'all, bro. Okay, I understand y'all want to be out there, but bro, why you have to do every single thing just to get a view? Like, bro, yes, you're gonna get a view, but bro, nobody cares at the ending. If I'm getting clout right now and someone viewing it, like, bro, they don't care, bro. They just want to see the curiosity, bro. They're not here for you, okay? Like, bro, I don't understand, bro. But hopefully he made it right. Did he?
Boggling. After leaving the can of Coke, he made the only sane decision of this entire trip and left the island on the same boat he arrived on, happy that he managed to escape without getting off.
Escaped?
However, little did he know, the real consequences were waiting for him back at Port Blair. You see, while he was returning to Kumadera Beach at around 7 PM that same day, two fishermen on the coast noticed his boat. They quickly alerted the local authorities about where they suspected Mikhailo was coming from, resulting in police finding and arresting him a couple of days later on March 31st. They ended up confiscating his GoPro with all of the footage on the island and launched a full criminal investigation into Mikhailo's actions. In other words, Mikhailo could face up to 5 or even 8 years in prison for his crimes if convicted. Now, it's important to note
That's
that
crazy. You can go to jail for this for 8 to 7 years. Bro, this is so crazy, bro. Nah, I don't understand why he deserves jail for this.
Hasn't been charged yet, but given the recent trend of foreign governments not letting American nuisance creators get away with whatever they want, there's a good chance he won't be coming home anytime soon. But even if he somehow manages to escape the charges, there's one thing for sure. Mikhailo's already blown any shot he had at becoming a YouTuber, ending his career before it could even start, and he has no one to blame for his own failure but himself. He had the opportunity to stop chasing this incredibly dumb adventure in October 2024 when he got caught the first time. However, his need for clout didn't let him abandon the idea, and now he could be facing serious prison time for his actions, and that too in a foreign country, all because he was too stubborn to just accept the idiocy of his plan.
Yeah, Chad, shout out to internet. I already liked it. You want to get the views? Just be patient, bro. Be patient, okay? Just be patient, bro. That's what I'm saying. Okay, when people say be patient, it doesn't mean like you have to sit down and wait. No, be patient means like just relax and then do your own thing. Like do your own thing, like what I'm doing right now. That's being patient. YouTube, if you're watching this, please subscribe, okay? I really appreciate it. Thank you.